Hello and welcome, everyone. I am so glad that you are here tonight for our compassionate weekly accountability meeting. And I have to say that tonight we are talking about toxic relationships. Okay. And I spent the last week with countless hours, sessions with coaching and psychotherapy clients who coincidentally were going through the different stages of grief and processing breakups with toxic relationships. So I thought, wait a minute, what a coincidence, or maybe it's meant to be, that this is something I should address during our Sundays weekly accountability live streams because it is just too common what's happening. And hopefully, you find this insightful. And if you are new here, right, I want to give you a warm welcome. If this is your first time joining, welcome to a safe, supportive, and healing space where we talk about growth, reclaiming our sense of self worth after experiencing toxic relationships, parentification, and trauma. And if you've been here before, you know this is a space of warmth, honesty, and deep reflection. So grab your favorite drink and settle in and let's connect. Okay. In fact, I'm going to grab my glasses because my eyes feel a little bit dry. And as I mentioned, tonight we're diving into something deeply personal and transformative, healing after a toxic relationship, whether it was with a parent, a partner, a friend, or even a workplace dynamic. You're not alone. And if you are here, it means that you are ready to understand, process, and step into a new version of yourself, one that is free, empowered, and deeply worthy of love. Don't forget that. Okay. And let me know where you are joining from. Let me check the comments. If you feel safe and comfortable, please say hello. Tell us where you are joining from and whether you can relate through having experienced a toxic relationship. And if you have any questions, please, I cannot wait to answer your questions or to say hello. So, toxic relationships, they don't just break our hearts, they shatter our sense of reality, self worth, and safety. Because a toxic partner, a friend, or a family member often operates in patterns of control, manipulation, and emotional neglect. And for over a decade, I had the honor of serving survivors of domestic and intimate partner abuse at a local organization. Shout out to the Dominican Women's Development Center, which is the organization where I pretty much grew up as an advocate for women's rights and immigrant rights. And and I have to say that it's all too common, unfortunately, where you experience this person as gaslighting you, maybe making you question your own memories and perceptions. They played the victim whenever you tried to hold them accountable, or perhaps they used love as a bargaining chip, giving just enough to keep you attached, but withholding when you needed them the most. So if that resonates with you, let me know in the comments. And I see, hello, welcome, lovely. From Canada, I find taking distance from the toxic person is key. Yes, yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is so hard. And we will get to that because sometimes, right, it's easier said than done. So thank you so much. TNT. Yes. So and joining from Canada. So thank you so much for being here. And that is the key. Absolutely. However, unfortunately, it is like an addiction. So distancing yourself from that person, like withdrawing, it's almost like a drug. And we will get to that with the science of that and how the brain works. So thank you so much for sharing that, because as I mentioned, sometimes these people operate from that place of withholding love when you need them the most, and giving you just enough breadcrumbs, right, to keep you attached. And that is something that it is all too common when it comes to unhealthy relationships. You find this push and pull, this adrenaline from the relationship, and you may even feel like they're your soulmate at first. Like, wow, I really know this person. They feel so familiar. And it may be because they're mimicking or mirroring an attachment wound. Maybe this is the way that you grew up, an unpredictable environment, and that causes you to seek relationships where you want to mirror the same conditions so that probably you can rewrite the script. This is actually very common. And I'm not here to make you feel bad at all. Okay. This is why it's so important to understand where this dynamic comes from, the root cause of the behavior, so that we can begin to rewrite the script. And compassion is key, because I'm not immune to this, right? I'm not immune to this, even though I am a psychotherapist. Anyone can be a victim of someone that is unhealthy, toxic. Um, I know that this is used often, but you may be a victim of narcissistic abuse. So I want to pause and acknowledge something important, which is that if you have been through this, the fact that you are here shows your strength. You survived something incredibly painful, and that in itself speaks volumes about your resilience and your character. So let me pause, and I see another comment. I went no contact, but it took me 3 years and thereby to gain clarity. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing and for your courage. I hope that you feel very proud of yourself, because it's not easy. It is not. Um, and then you mentioned 3 years in therapy. Yes. I mean, look, this can take a year, some months, or it may take even longer. And it's okay. Compassion is key, because we're not talking about an item, we're talking about your emotions. So it's important to be patient and compassionate with yourself when it comes to this. And hello, hello. Let's see. I see another comment. Okay. Let me, I'm having a little, okay, here we go. Hello, Lolly. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have you back. Okay. So, I love I love this community. Going back, right? Let's talk about the science of healing, right? Let's talk about the emotional and psychological impact. A toxic relationship does more than hurt you. It rewires your brain, because the intermittent reinforcement of love and cruelty creates a trauma bond. And what happens is that, as I mentioned, that push and pull keeps you stuck, because you get the glimpses of the good times. So you think, well, it's not that bad. Maybe I'm exaggerating. They're a good person, or their trauma, right? So that cruelty and love creates a trauma bond, which is what makes leaving or healing almost impossible, or so you believe that is impossible. And You feel guilty, you question your reality, you think, wait a minute, something doesn't feel right, but then you override those emotions in lieu of thinking, well, but this person is actually nice. It's not all the time that they act that way. And the amygdala, right, the part of your brain that is responsible for detecting danger and threats, becomes overactive. And you may find yourself hypervigilant, anxious, or waiting for the other shoe to drop, even in safe relationships, because your nervous system is in survival mode. So if you find yourself still longing for someone who hurt you, still second guessing your choices, or still feeling unworthy, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your brain is still healing. And this is why compassion is non negotiable in this process. And I want to repeat that compassion is non negotiable, it's a must. And healing from a toxic relationship isn't linear, but there are key stages that you may go through. So I want to break them down so that you can understand that you are not alone in this. And of course, if at any moment you resonate with anything that I am mentioning here, I would love to hear from you. And if you have any questions or comments, comment I if it resonates so far, because I just don't want you to feel alone in this. Okay? So, some of the key stages are, and again, it's not linear, but number one, awakening, right? Seeing the truth. This is the moment that you realize something isn't right. Maybe it was a comment from a friend, a deep exhaustion, or a rock bottom moment. And this is when you start questioning the dynamic and acknowledging the pain. Like, okay, I am hurt by this person, right? Number two, grief and withdrawal, breaking the trauma bond that I mentioned before. So losing a toxic relationship often feels like withdrawal from a drug. So the highs were intoxicating and then the lows were devastating. And you might miss them, even if they hurt you. So you might question your decision, and this is normal. Okay? This is completely normal. Or you may become angry, or you may begin to bargain, like, oh, what could have happened? Or maybe it is something that I did. Maybe if I would have taken care of myself, it would have been better. Maybe if I would have been more involved and more, sexually open or emotionally open. So we start to blame ourselves. And I just want to say that this is normal. And I want to offer you a tip, which is to journal about the moments they made you feel small. When you romanticize the good times, ground yourself in the reality of why you left or why you are choosing to heal. And I want to pause because I see a comment. Okay. And it says, the hardest part of healing is forgiving yourself for the things you allowed and trusting yourself again to know how not to find yourself in this same kind of relationships in the future. Absolutely. And thank you so much for your vulnerability, Loli, for sharing, because it is not easy. It is so true. And that is why I want to reiterate that compassion is key in this process, because you begin to question yourself and to blame yourself and feel guilty, or maybe there's something wrong. So number three, let's rebuild self-trust, right? Learning to listen to yourself again. Toxic relationships erode self-trust, and you might wonder, was it really that bad? Or what if I'm too sensitive? Or this stage is about listening to your own voice, because very likely it was silenced, and very likely you were hyper focused on this person to the point that you lost yourself in the process, to the point that you don't even remember what your goals were you derailed completely from the goals and aspirations that you had, the desires. Okay, comment I if this resonates. It is such a common pattern that we fall into when we are in a toxic relationship, because we are love bombed and we are craving that attention, that love, that in reality is infatuation, that we drop everything, okay, for the love that we have always craved, especially if you grew up with dysfunctional family dynamics, if you grew up with unmet emotional needs, then you are more susceptible to giving in and, falling naive and into these relationships with these master manipulators, should I say, right? So I want to offer you another tip, which is to start small. Small choices, right? What do you want for dinner? As simple as that. What music soothes you? Relearning your preferences is an act of self-reclamation. So take a moment right now, actually. Right now if you can, and share it in the comments if you can. Take a moment to think about what are some of your interests that perhaps you might have neglected, or you may have neglected recently or after a breakup with an emotionally unhealthy person, a toxic relationship. Think about that, and what can you do this week to start nurturing that part of yourself that you might have neglected? Because I can assure you, the moment you start to show up for yourself, everything changes. Everything changes. So please, I know it sounds cliche, but please fall in love with your goals and your desires, because you deserve that. Okay. Number 4, okay, reconnection, finding safe people and spaces. Because after isolation or gaslighting, trusting others can feel terrifying. But healing happens in safe relationships, whether it's a friend, a therapist, or a community like our Self Worth Hub. If you are a member, if not, consider joining. Don't be afraid to ask for support. A lot of my members are hyper independent women, okay, that you would never think that they will fall into codependent relationship. But as I mentioned, I'm not immune to that. The way that we may fall into codependency, it's not because we are dependent on the person, but rather because we enable out of unmet emotional needs and low self esteem, even though we mask it very well and we come off very confident. But out of low self esteem, we overstay, we overcompensate for others, and we take care. We become caretakers of partners. So all of a sudden, instead of having a partner, you feel like a mother to your partner or like a big sister. Does that resonate? Okay, let's see. I have another comment here from TNT. Thank you for commenting. It says, I have clarity now and will never go against my instincts again. Yes, I forgave and let go. Beautiful, beautiful. That's right. And it takes one day at a time, okay? And understanding your worth. And I know it's easier said than done, but it is possible. And I would humbly encourage you to give it a try. To give it a try. And if you're struggling with it, find folks, find people that can be there for you, find a community, because, surrounding yourself with people who validate your reality and honor your emotions is transformative. This is relational. There's nothing wrong with you, but this is relational. And healing from these attachment wounds is a matter of creating um, a thriving community, creating safe spaces, and connecting with people who genuinely get it, right? And that it's a segue into number 5, which is to thrive, right? Which means, in simple terms, or in this context, to redefine your standards and boundaries. Okay. This is when you no longer settle. It may take a while, but you know your worth, and you no longer excuse bad behavior. You set boundaries not to punish others, but to honor yourself. And when love comes, it feels safe, consistent, and freeing. Not like walking on eggshells or like you have to be this perfect creature. Hello, no. you're going to hold yourself to those standards, then you better hold them accountable too. So I want to leave you with a few actionable tools that you can start implementing right away, right? I want to remind you of affirming yourself also, okay? And let me see. Okay, I thought I saw more comments, right? So, affirmations for rewiring self-worth, okay? I want you to repeat after me. Okay, let's do that together now. How about that? Sit comfortably. Let's set the mood. Okay, and let's start with a beautiful affirmation. Okay, so start right away. I am worthy of self. You see, that's what happens when you go live. You make mistakes, you get tongue twisted. Let's do that again. Okay, I am worthy of safe and healthy love. Okay. Now I want to see in the comments if there is another affirmation that you can think of that can be helpful for you or for those who are here live who may need to hear some affirmations and that can resonate with what I am talking about, right? Overcoming and healing from unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships. What can you share in the comments? And for those who are not here, who will watch the replay, what can you offer them, right? Another affirmation I want to offer you is my past does not define me. I am in control of my future. Okay. And I trust myself to make choices that honor me. I trust myself to make choices that honor me. Okay. Oh, I love this. And then I see, I trust myself and life is great. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that in the chat, in the comments, because we often forget, unfortunately, we often forget and attribute so much power to these unhealthy people only to look back and realize like, oh my gosh, this person didn't deserve me. So I want to offer you also the reality check list. All right. So, right now, if you haven't grabbed a journal or a notebook, okay, or after this live stream, I want you to write down the most hurtful moments in the relationship. Okay. Keeping in mind that you're no longer there. Okay. This is more from an empowered space, right? So read it when you start missing them. If you start missing that person or they just come to mind, remind yourself of that list and read it out loud, right? And then I want to remind you of your IRS. Again, not the taxes, guys, but if you have been here before, you know what the IRS is, okay? It is your internal resources system, okay? Just remember that you can tap into them at any moment, okay? Meaning that you can regulate your nervous system, okay? And oh, I see another affirmation. Thank you so much for sharing, TNT. I love that you are sharing all of these gems. Thank you so much. So, TNT shares there are kind people in the world. That is right. Because we often forget, okay? when we are in those moments where we are catastrophizing, where we are hyper vigilant, and we have experienced these toxic relationships, we think that everyone is that way, and that is not the case. There are genuine people, loving and kind people out there. So thank you so much for the reminder, TNT. All right. So I want you to do some box breathing if you are feeling anxious and thinking about this person, right? So inhale for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 4, and exhale for 4. Ah. Remind yourself that you have all the tools within you. Okay? Affirm yourself. Breathe. Tap yourself. I love the butterfly hug, which is a technique that we use in somatic healing. Okay, it's a somatic healing exercise where you tap and tap, tap and tap, and you swing as babies do. And it is a way of regulating your nervous system when you are feeling anxious. Perhaps do some jumping jacks, or go for a run or a walk, or shake it out, because sometimes these emotions, these flashbacks can come and feel overwhelming. Especially, let's say you're watching a movie, a show, and then an image or a reminder of this person shows up, and then you are so upset with yourself because why am I thinking about them when I know they're terrible, right? But hey, this can happen, and you're human. So that's why I wanted to offer you that, and first and foremost, to remind you to be compassionate with yourself. Okay, ground yourself in the moment, to remind yourself that you are human. Okay. And some journaling prompts for healing that I want to offer you now is, what does safety in a relationship feel like to me? Okay. So write that down. What does safety in a relationship feel like to me? Because that is important to know yourself, know thyself. Okay. What would that feel like? Okay. If you are ready to share, I would love to read it in the comments. Okay. And let's see. Another prompt that I want to offer you is, how did this relationship make me shrink? Okay. How did this relationship make me shrink? Because it is important to have it at the epicenter for those moments when, you know, the attachment wound is trying to pull you back into thinking about that person and romanticizing the good moments. Okay. Think about this. Okay. How did they make you shrink? All right. And then, what would your loving inner parents say to you right now? Okay. Ask yourself, what would my loving inner parent say to me right now? Okay. Healing is a journey. And there will be days when you feel free, and days when you feel like your grief is sneaking up on you. So be gentle with yourself through it all. Okay. And let me see. Okay. TNT says peace. Yes. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So, and since we are closing our live stream, if you found this conversation helpful, I invite you to join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for these compassionate accountability meetings, because you don't have to do it alone. Healing happens in community. And if you are looking for a deeper support, a space where you can be compassionately heard and seen, and you want deeper support, then my Self Worth Hub is a space where you will get tools, coaching, and a network of people who truly understand. Okay. And before we wrap up, let me know in the comments what resonated the most with you tonight. Okay. What is one small step that you are committing to for your healing journey? Okay. And I see a comment here. Ooh, hello, hello, Letty. So helpful. Thanks for the tips to calm the nervous system together. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to have you. Okay, so let me know what resonated the most with all of you tonight. I would love to hear from you. And I want to remind you that you are worthy of love that feels like peace and not chaos. And I am so honored to walk this path with you. So, see you next Sunday. Take care. And remember that you are enough just as you are. So, please, please, please remember your resilience. And I will see you next time. All right. Sending you much love, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Okay. Beautiful. I love these comments. Oh, much love to you back. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Take care. Oh, thank you. And thank you for your lovely participation, TNT. All your comments, everyone. Thank you so much.